Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're sort of setting out with a treasure map, you could say,
A treasure map. Okay, I like that. For what?
for navigating Buddhist philosophy, really. We're looking at some key Buddhist scriptures, foundational texts.
Right. Sutras. And the idea is to give folks listening a solid grasp without, you know, drowning them in detail.
Exactly. You're here, you want the insights, maybe efficiently. So we've gathered material, mainly focusing on a specific sequence of sutras.
That's the plan. We'll walk through several representative sutras one after another, offer a structured overview of their main ideas, why they matter, and we'll aim to keep this whole exploration to about, say, 15 minutes.
Perfect. And we're drawing from Sutra Journey, Part 2, from Mahā Sutra to Susiddhikara.
Yes, that's our main source material for this dive.
Great. So think of this as our mission. Extract the key insights, the real nuggets from these texts, maybe spark some of those aha moments. Let's dive in. First up is the Mahā Sutra,
Okay, the Lokavatara, its full Chinese title is Slunk and Collude.
which translates to,
Lokavatara Treasure Sutra.
Hmm.
It comes to us via Gopādra, who translated it back in the Southern Song Dynasty. It's in 4 volumes.
and the title itself, Lokavatara, Buddha's entry into Loka Mountain. What's the story there? What makes that location significant?
Well, Lal Gadbag is traditionally thought to be a mountain in Sri Lanka. And Avatara, it means entry, or maybe better, the Buddha sort of purposefully appearing there, manifesting.
Okay.
So the title points to the treasure, the teachings the Buddha gave when he arrived. And given that sort of mythic setting, the sutra gets into some really deep Mahayana ideas.
Like, what are the big takeaways from this one?
It covers a lot. Key doctrines,
Yeah.
like the 5 dharmas, the 3 natures, the 8 consciousnesses.
Okay, quite technical stuff.
Yeah, and also the 2 kinds of no-self, 4 types of meditation. It's pretty comprehensive about, how we experience things and the path. But maybe the unifying thread is Tathagata Garbha.
Buddha nature, right.
Yeah, exactly. That potential for enlightenment that's supposedly in all of us.
That is a powerful idea. How does the sutra connect that to everything else?
Well, what's really interesting is how Tathagata Garbha helps bridge things that seem opposite, like emptiness and existence.
Oh, so.
The sutra suggests that phenomena, things we see, they seem real, but ultimately they're empty of any inherent separate reality. But, and this is key, this emptiness isn't just nothingness.
Oh.
It's full of potential, the potential for Buddhahood. And this ties right into another huge statement in the Lokavatara. All phenomena are mind only.
Mind only. Okay, that sounds fundamental. What does that mean in practice?
Basically, the world out there isn't some independent thing. It's more like a reflection of our own consciousness.
Wow.
Yeah, our perceptions, how we understand things, our whole reality, it's all shaped by our mind.
Yeah.
Thinking about that really changes how you might see, well, everything.
I can imagine. How influential was the sutra, historically speaking?
Oh, hugely significant philosophically. It marks a later phase of Indian Mahayana, and it does something really important. It blends Tathagata Garbha with the Yogacara school's idea of the Alaya Vijnana.
The storehouse consciousness.
Right, that deep level of mind holding all our past karma and experiences. The sutra explores how that deep consciousness relates to our potential for enlightenment.
And it wasn't just for philosophers, right? It impacted practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely not just academic. It's crucial for several schools. It's one of the main texts for the Dharma Characteristics School, which gets really granular about reality. And maybe even more famously,
Zen.
yes, a key text for early Zen. They actually used it, apparently, to kind of check if someone's realization was genuine.
That's fascinating. So it tackles these big paradoxes, emptiness, existence as it's all mind, and points to this innate Buddha nature. Definitely makes you think. Okay, let's shift gears. Next up, the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment.
Right, the Du-Ut, often shortened, thankfully, to just Ut. This one was translated by Buddha Tratta, Tang Dynasty, and it's just a single volume, but packs a punch.
Perfect enlightenment. Sounds promising.
Yeah.
What's the core message?
It's very direct, very encouraging, actually. The Buddha basically tells various bodhisattvas, Manjushri, Maitreya, figures like that, that all beings, fundamentally, are Buddhas.
Already, from the start.
Yes, we all inherently possess this pure, perfect enlightenment.
Okay, but if that's true, why are we all still struggling? Why doesn't it feel that way?
Well, according to the sutra, it's delusion, our ingrained confusion, our obscurations. They're like clouds covering up the sun of our enlightenment.
So the path is about removing the clouds.
Exactly, dispelling the delusion. Once you start clearing away those obscurations through wisdom, through practice, the innate Buddha nature just naturally shines through.
That's a really different perspective. Very empowering, maybe. Fits that idea of getting insights efficiently. It's not about building something new, but uncovering.
Precisely. Like polishing a mirror that's already there, just dirty. That shift can be, liberating. And like the Lakavattara, this one's also been pretty important in Zen, stressing that inherent potential.
Okay, next in our journey. Wow, this one's big. The Jajja, the Mahā Prajñāpāramitā Sutra. 40 volumes.
Yes, quite the text. Also called Yu, just translated by the Harmakama Northern Lian dynasty. And 40 volumes is substantial.
With that length, it must cover a lot. What's the background? What's it about?
It contains the teachings Sukyamuni Buddha gave right before his parinirvana, his final passing from the physical world. So it's considered his last major teaching.
His final words, in a sense. What kind of ideas does he emphasize here?
It really hammers home some core Mahayana concepts. It teaches definitively that the Tathagata, the Buddha, is eternal, unchanging.
Eternal, interesting.
Yeah, and it strongly reaffirms that Buddha nature is present in all sentient beings, building on what we saw in the other sutras. And it offers this profound promise. Eventually, everyone will become a Buddha.
So it's like a final summing up, pulling together these essential Mahayana threads.
Exactly. It's seen as a really comprehensive statement, widely circulated, very influential in shaping Mahayana thought, tackles big questions, gives a concluding view.
That idea of the Buddha being eternal, definitely something to ponder, especially if you're interested in ultimate truths. Okay, moving right along.
Okay.
The Tachu Mahatmya Sutra, 120 volumes.
Seriously. Also known as a huge collection, translated by Bodhiruchi and many others in the Tang dynasty. It's structured into 49 different assemblies or sections.
The title means heap of Dharma treasures, right? So it's a mix of things.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's basically a big anthology of various individual sutras. A lot of them deal with bodhisattva practices, what they do on the path, and predictions about them becoming Buddhas. And because it's a compilation over time, you actually find different translations of the same core sutra, sometimes included within it.
So, unlike the others we discussed, this isn't one unified teaching, more like a library.
Precisely. It covers major Mahayana ideas broadly, but each of those 49 assemblies kind of stands on its own with its own theme. There isn't really a single overarching philosophical system tying all 120 volumes together tightly.
Can you give an example or two? What kind of texts are in this heap?
Sure. The 43rd Assembly, the Universal Brightness Bodhisattva Assembly, that's often seen as a core part, sometimes even called the Ratnaku Sutra itself in a narrow sense.
Okay.
Then you have, say, the 46th Assembly, Mayuju's teaching on Prajñā. That's another version of the Mayuju Prajñā Sutra, focusing on wisdom. Or the 48th, the Shumala Devi Assembly. That's another translation of the Shumala Sutra, famous for Queen Shumala, talking about Buddha nature.
Fascinating how they brought all these together. But for someone who likes structure, the lack of a single system might seem odd. What does this compilation tell us about Buddhism back then?
It really shows how vibrant and, diverse Mahayana was becoming. You had different schools, different regions contributing texts, and collections like this were a way to gather and share that variety. It points to a time of real expansion and creativity in Buddhist thinking.
Right, a snapshot of a living tradition. Okay, that gives us a sense of this massive collection. Let's turn to a sutra focused on a really popular figure. The Yuja, Kantigarbha Bodhisattva's Original Vows Sutra.
Yes, often just called the Yud-er, or Kantigarbha Sutta, translated by Sitananda, Tang Dynasty again, in 2 volumes.
Where does this one take place, and who is Kantigarbha? Why is he so important?
The setting is the Buddha teaching his mother, Maya, up in the Triastriya heaven. And the main figure, Kantigarbha Bodhisattva, he's revered for these incredibly deep vows he made.
What kind of vows?
Vows to tirelessly save beings after the Buddha's passing, especially those suffering in the lower realms, like the hells, until the next Buddha, Maitreya, arrives. Really profound compassion.
So what are the main themes here? What does the sutra emphasize?
It strongly emphasizes, entrusting beings to Kantigarbha's care during this in-between period. It talks a lot about the merit you get from venerating him.
Merits like?
Blessings, protection. It also describes the hell realms, karmic consequences. But a key point is the benefit of reciting this specific sutra.
Reciting the sutra itself brings benefits.
Yes, inconceivable benefits, it says. eradication of sins, protection from harm, that sort of thing.
So there's a strong devotional aspect, very practical in its focus on veneration and recitation.
Absolutely. And that practical focus plus the compassionate figure of Kutigarbha has made it incredibly popular, especially in Chinese Buddhism. It offers a very direct way to seek help on the path.
For listeners interested in that intersection of faith and practice, the idea of reciting a text having such effects is definitely something to think about. Okay, let's move to the Yao's Medicine Buddha Sutra, also known as Oti, among other short forms. This one's translation is by the very famous Xuanzang Tang dynasty, just one volume.
Medicine Buddha, the name itself suggests healing. Tell us about Bhajaguru and his vows.
So Bhajaguru is the medicine master, the Buddha of the Eastern Pure Land. His name refers to lapis lazuli light. While he was on the path as a bodhisattva, he made 12 great vows.
12. Aimed at what?
Aimed at relieving all kinds of suffering, physical illness, mental distress, but also guiding beings to his Pure Land and ultimately to enlightenment.
What's unique about this sutra? What does it stress?
One distinct thing is its emphasis on benefits in this life. Good health, long life, freedom from disasters, alongside the spiritual goal of rebirth in his Pure Land.
So worldly well-being and spiritual aims.
Exactly. It bridges those two. It also has some esoteric elements, specific practices, and like some others, there are multiple translations showing it was quite important over time.
For someone looking for that link between spiritual practice and tangible well-being now, this sounds key. How does it supposedly work? Through connecting with Bhajaguru's compassionate vows. Things like reciting his name or mantra, making offerings, visualizing him. Practitioners believe this invokes his blessings for healing, protection, and of course, eventual liberation.
Okay, now we're stepping into clearly esoteric territory with the Pagaharoyu, the Mahā Sutra, a different flavor altogether.
Definitely. The full title's a mouthful. Sinisur. Often just it's Sinisur. It's a foundational esoteric text translated by Supakarasiyaha and Yixing Tang Dynasty, 7 volumes.
And the setting it describes, Mahā teaching in the Diamond Realm Palace. Sounds very symbolic. What's the core teaching here?
The Mahā Sutra is about revealing the innate, pure Bodhisattva mandala, the enlightened mind that's already within everyone.
Innate again, like the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment.
Similar core idea, but approached through esoteric means. It revolves around 3 principles. Bodhisattva as the cause, great compassion as the root, skillful means as the ultimate.
And the practices.
It emphasizes the correspondence of body, speech, and mind, the 3 secrets. And it details 2 kinds of yoga, with form and formless, as the way to realize that innate bodhisattva and achieve Buddhahood in this very life.
And its role in esoteric Buddhism.
It's the main scripture for the womb realm teachings. That's one of the 2 major streams in esoteric Buddhism, focusing heavily on compassion and that inherent Buddha nature.
Innate, pure bodhicitta mandala. That phrase really sticks. Sounds like a deep dive in itself. Okay, paired with us often is the Susiddhikara Sūtra.
That's right. Another long title. Jotes Boat 2, usually just Mandarin. Translated by Amokhavajra, Tang Dynasty, 3 volumes. And the name, Vajrashakara.
Means?
Vajra Peak, or Diamond Peak. It implies it's the absolute pinnacle among sutras in this tradition.
High praise. What does this pinnacle teach?
It lays out the principles and complex rituals of the esoteric mandala, but focuses more on the diamond realm side. It guides practitioners in transforming ordinary consciousness into wisdom through meditative yoga, visualizing deities, using mantras. It really emphasizes developing wisdom and skillful means.
And how does it complement the Mahā Sutra?
If the Mahā Sutra represents the womb realm, emphasizing compassion, the Vajrashakara Sutra is the primary text for the diamond realm, emphasizing wisdom. They're often seen as 2 sides of the same coin, compassion and wisdom, the essentials for enlightenment.
Transforming consciousness into wisdom. That's a powerful goal. Definitely speaks to the transformative potential people seek in Buddhism. Okay, our final text for today, the Chu, the Susiddhikara Sūtra.
That's just joy. Another key esoteric text, also translated by Supakarasiyaha, same translator as the Mahā Tang Dynasty, 3 volumes. And Susiddhikara means something like wonderful attainment or perfect accomplishment.
Attainment through what methods?
This one is very, very practical, ritual-focused. It goes into detail about 5 different classes or families of mantras.
5?
Yes. And it gives incredibly detailed instructions for the rituals associated with them. Where to do them, who with, what precepts to keep, what offerings to make, exactly how to recite the mantras for specific results.
So it's like a ritual handbook for esoteric practice.
Pretty much, yeah. A detailed guide for achieving aims, both spiritual and worldly, through mantra and ritual. But it also has a doctrinal goal, to further clarify the non-dual connection between the diamond and womb realms, showing how they work together in practice.
And its status, where does it fit?
It's considered one of the 3 foundational esoteric sutras, right alongside the Mahā and the Vajrashikara. You really need all 3 for a full picture of the tradition.
For anyone drawn to the ritual side of Buddhism, this sounds essential. You mentioned 5 classes of mantras. Do they do different things?
Generally, yes. The sutra groups them based on their main function or the deity type. So you might have mantras for pacifying problems, increasing wealth or merit, gaining influence or love, forcefully subduing obstacles, and ultimately for enlightenment itself. It details which mantras and rituals fit which purpose.
Wow. We have covered an incredible amount of ground today, from, core Mahayana ideas to the really specific practices of esoteric Buddhism. It's been quite a tour.
It really has, and hopefully even in this quick flyover, folks got a sense of the core ideas and the significance of each of these texts, a kind of structured introduction, maybe spark some interest to explore further.
Absolutely. It just highlights the sheer richness and, diversity within Buddhist literature, even just looking at these few examples. So many paths.
It does. And reflecting on all this vast range of teachings, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Thinking about everything we've touched on, from Buddha nature to mind, only to specific mantras, what single question about, existence or enlightenment feels most alive for you right now? Which thread do you feel pulled to follow?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with, something to reflect on. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Buddhist Sutras. The journey definitely continues.